Live? I don't see it yet.
You're live. Richard, just stop.
Oh, I am? Good evening. Welcome to the September 24th, 2024 regular meeting of the Milton Select Board. I'd like to begin by calling this meeting to order. I'll ask everyone to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to go to item number 3, public comment. If there's someone here for public comment, please come up, sign their name. Public comment will last for 21 minutes. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes, and I will keep 3 minutes, and Mr. Connor will keep the 21 minutes. I see no participants at home, so good evening.
My name is Phil Johanning. I live at 23 Harwood Drive. I'm here to ask the select board why we still have no MCAC rep appointed. Now the September meeting has passed. No one represented Milton. No one was there for the June meeting. I think that this is wrong, considering that 90% of the traffic on the 40-degree runways flies over East Milton. I have a very big concern about this lack of a representative. I originally filled out one of the forms for the ANAC, and as I understood Katie Conlon, she felt that I did not support what the select board wanted to do. But as I understand it, it's an airplane noise advisory committee, which means that we would debate issues. I was 100% against going forward with the appeal of the FONSI for 4L. And what happened? The town lost and spent $65,000 needless dollars, even though Cindy Christensen had advised the town that it was a losing cause from the very beginning. Now, I believe I'm the only person who filled out a form to represent the town on the MCAC. The last ANAC meeting, Katie Conlon recognized that I filled out the form, but then she said, I'm going to talk to Mike Zulis and see if he would represent the town. I don't understand why I filled out the form. She didn't discuss my qualifications or lack of qualifications, and it went immediately to try to find someone else to represent the town. I was the person who filled out the form. I got a kick out of Mr. Zoll talking about how he wanted to see the forms that people had filled out to volunteer for the most recent committee formed to look at the poor farm and the uses of the poor farm. And I don't think anybody responded to him. So my question, I guess, would be, why don't we have an MCAC rep? And my other question would be, what is the meaning of the volunteer form if nobody looks at them or considers them? Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for citizen speak? See no one online, no one present that will.
We do have one person.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Online. Can I allow them?
Go ahead, allow them in.
Hal is the name.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Asking him to unmute again.
Can you unmute the person that's online? Are you there?
Nothing.
Hal, you're muted if you're listening to us.
Last time, Hal, are you there?
Okay. There's a
Okay.
second citizen, Michael McCarthy.
Michael McCarthy? can you unmute?
Did I have more success with the mute button?
Yes, you've unmuted. Good evening. How are you, Michael?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks, everyone. Sorry, I'll start with the formalities. Michael McCarthy, 22 Hollis Street, town meeting member, precinct 6. Thank you all. I'm just dialing in tonight, really just to urge you all to consider calling a special fall town meeting in support of the request by Milton School Building Committee. As you all likely know, 2 weeks ago, back on September 9th, Milton School Building Committee approved 2 warrant articles, and they expressed their desire, really their need, the committee's need for a special town meeting if they are to continue their work that they've been doing now for so many years. So really, if the work of the School Building Committee is to continue, then they urgently will need a special town meeting to approve funding, both for their continued design and planning work, I know, which would help answer questions this board had for that committee, as well as to move forward toward an eventual vote on this project and to see how the town's residents feel about pursuing that project. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you'll consider that request. Thank you all.
Thank you, Michael. That's it. So that will conclude Citizen Speak, and thank you all. Moving on to item number 4. This is a discussion update, support of our Haitian neighbors. If anyone has followed the news in this country recently, particularly with some comments that have been made about our Haitian friends in another state far away, damaging comments, inhumane comments. Mr. Zoll had reached out to me, and I had attended 2 events, one in Randolph on Sunday and a massive one on Boston Common today in support of our Haitian citizens, brothers and sisters. And so with that, I would like to invite our friends of Haitian residents to come to, you can bring all your chairs up because and if you could just each, as you speak, just introduce yourselves and thank you for coming here tonight. And the floor is yours.
My name is Chris
Go.
David.
Make sure you get close to
Okay,
the
just get
microphone.
close to the mic when you speak, because as I said to you when you came in, the television audience is bigger than the prison audience. Yeah.
My name is Chris Naven. You want addresses?
No.
right.
That's fine. That's fine.
From Milton, welcoming Haitian newcomers. It's a group that was formed in response to a request from Dr. Gerald Gabot of the Immigrant Family Services Institute in Mattapan. And she asked if we could find someplace for a Haitian individual or family that had no place to stay. And by the way, thank you to the Select Board for the resolution in support of Milton Welcoming, which meant a lot to us. So just I'll just give you a quick update on where we are, which is with respect to getting someone housed. We looked at about 35 apartments in Milton and Dorchester and the surrounding areas, with no success, either due to lead paint because there was a baby involved, or high rents were just ridiculously high, or the landlord just saying, no, thanks, we're going to go with somebody else. Eventually, Carlene Desir, one of our members, helped us locate an apartment in Dorchester, close to Lower Mills. And we were able to house 3 women, 2 of whom had kids, and they're now doing well. One is working up in Milton Hospital, and another one's working in Randolph, and the third is interviewing. So things are going very well there, and there's more that we have been doing, and I'll pass off to Cynthia to talk about that.
Good evening. I'm Cynthia Guys, and I have been working with an organization called BJAN, which is Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network. That's a mouthful. And you have been reading in the paper probably about the folks that are sleeping on the streets. We have helped people dismantle. There are Milton residents who are part of this group, and we have helped dismantle the tents that were at a church in Quincy, and we took them to East Boston, where there's a church that helps them, and we were going to Wollaston Station. We were actually helping them sleep there. So we would bring inflatable mats and blankets and food. Some of the people that Chris was just mentioning actually cooked a big Haitian meal for 50 people for them. And so we get them comfortable. We have tarps, and that was fine until Wollaston was closed because they're doing work there. So then the Quincy Welcome Center brought them to South Station. And then they were told they had to leave at 10 o'clock. So then they went to Logan. And so it's just been really hard. All of these people are legally here. Right? I just want to make that clear because so many people have asked me that. And so we're in the process of trying to, if we know that they're here for a night and they're going to be sleeping outside, we try to find them places to sleep.
Hello, my name is Pat Gallivan. I'm from Elliott Street in Milton. A lot of people have asked us what they can do to help, and there's a lot of concrete things that people can do. We're really looking for someone that has a room in an apartment or something like that. That is the top wish. But we're also looking for clothing, food certificates and things like that. If people have ESL skills and are able to, tutor people in English that have arrived, that would be another thing. One of the other things we've started is a job matching program. As Cynthia mentioned, everybody is a legal resident of the town, and some of them don't have full-time jobs yet. So we're looking at like odd jobs. People have, raking, shoveling, painting, and that kind of stuff. So we get names from some of the churches serving the Haitian population, and we match them with people who have different things that they need done. It started slow, but we're starting to see a lot more activity that way. As far as like donations and things, the Clergy Association, the Milton Interfaith Clergy Association, is looking at how they could get all the different parishes and temple and churches involved. And also the Milton Welcoming Haitian Newcomers Group. So we're trying to coordinate the distribution of clothing, food, and try to find apartments and ESL things. So.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Desiree. I am with the Association of Haitian Women in Boston, but I also live at 14 Union Ave in Milton. I'm here to share a couple of things. First of all, thank you for all that you do and inviting us to speak. I wanted to share two things. I want to share two things. One has to do with two families in the Milton area who shared their story with me. I'm not 100% sure how the schools run today. My kids went to school and they went through the bilingual program, moved in 1999, purchased in 2000. Now, my kids didn't need ESL instruction. The two families who talked to me, they shared, one parent shared, they have 3 kids. She has 3 kids in the system. The father's not here. one at Tucker, one in the middle school, and one in the high school. Apparently, they are all having challenges, especially the one in elementary school. She's not getting any English language instruction. She may be getting ELA, English Language Art, but not ESL. And she's been experiencing a lot of difficulties to do the homework assignments. And the mom told me that she has to Google everything. And I question sometimes if the translation is the best translation, whether I'm assuming she's translating from English to Haitian Creole. And sometimes Google has gotten better over the years, but not yet there. So the other family just started. This particular young lady at the elementary school, Tucker School, she spent a year without school. I don't know how long she was without going to the school system in Haiti, but she spent a year before she got into the school here. So my question has to do with what is it that we can do to ensure that the kids need the educational support that they need so they can excel. Now, it is true that the federal government may not be necessarily giving us all the dollars that we need. I'm not sure. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. But I do know that the students may come with specific needs. And it's not only educational support, but it could be other things too. And I will share my own personal story. When I had a child that went to Glover and another one at Tucker. Now, maybe a couple of weeks after school started, I received a newsletter saying that Haitians are invading the system. This was back in 1999. So today it changed a bit. There was another incident. My son graduated, but I suspect he was bullied. It's not until when he finished his master's, he came and shared with me. He shared a story that was somewhat very upsetting. And at first I thought, that he was emotionally bullied, but it could have been physical too, and we didn't know it. So when I asked him, why did you wait so long to come tell me this? He said, Mom, I know you would have been at the school within minutes. And it's true. So why do I share this? I think that's what you call social emotional learning. That's extremely important for our kids. And I know some of the kids might have been through very traumatic experiences. How do we deal with some of that? How do we also deal with what's happening today? Because there's a particular organization that does reports on immigration stuff. And the term they use is somewhat similar to what happened with the PTO newsletter. Immigrants are flooding the system. They didn't even say migrants. So I know it's not easy when you don't have the right certification to be dealing with kids who may not necessarily be speaking English nor up to par with the education level for his or her age or their ages. So I am also questioning, how can we ensure that our teachers get the cultural sensitivity training so the frustration or some of the terms do not translate into words that may hurt the kids? And I say this because my kid was suffering and he showed sign, and it's now I make the connection. of what's happening. Smart kid, he no longer wanted to be smart, et cetera, et cetera. Let me stop here. Thank you so much for having us.
So don't stop yet. So today we're on Boston Common. Why don't you talk about a little bit about what today was about?
Today was about solidarity at two levels.
You don't have to hold back either. You can.
Excuse me, sir?
Don't hold back.
Today was about solidarity with the Haitian community in Springfield, Ohio, but also how do we fight hate? How do we fight discrimination? How do we work collectively? How do we build community? How do we rise up together? So we had a great number of people, a lot of Haitian folks, but I would say about half of the crowd was our white allies, if I may say so. Whether it be organizations doing immigration work, but you had a lot of different folks coming from Milton, coming from Randolph, Cambridge. We had folks just questioning what was happening and they decided to stay on. But the key thing, it was beautiful in the sense that people wanted to hear, people wanted to share, and people wanted to know what can we do? What's the next step? I was asked so many times, what are you guys going to do next? What's the next step? And I think for us in Milton, what I see the group Milton welcoming new neighbors, they've been phenomenal. I deal with a lot of immigrants, but I think what Pat does, what Cynthia does, and Tracy and Chris make a huge difference. Even if it's just taking Nahum, who's like around seven, Nahum to the park. Because mom doesn't have time not that she doesn't, she's not comfortable yet. She doesn't know the town. So it's huge because I'm thinking, oh my God, this is incredible. Because it's something we would do with our kids, right? And kids do need that. If mom cannot do it because of XYZ reason and he does it, someone else, and we wrote it. I must say they wrote it. And volunteering their time, whether it be helping with computer skills, helping with Wi-Fi, helping with playing sports. It's something that the kids need. And, I salute you, all of you, for all your contribution. I haven't said that, but it's amazing. And the more I think about it, the more I see the importance of the work. So that's something else that we can do in terms of being a big brother, big sister, or someone who provides some support for the newly arrived immigrants, whether they be here or not. The group is making a huge difference in the lives of the three families, the three women.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Mr. Zoll.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'd like to start by acknowledging we have several Tucker parents that are also part of the Haitian community, including our own Dr. Regine Michel Jean-Charles, who is not able to make it tonight. She asked me if I wouldn't mind reading just the beginning of a piece that she wrote in the Boston Globe that appeared this Sunday, and I would encourage everyone to read it. It was entitled Haitians in America versus Racist Narratives Again. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph. When I was growing up in the predominantly white suburb of Wellesley, my Haitian immigrant parents took every opportunity to teach me and my three older sisters about Haiti. They armed us with the history of Haitians' trailblazing fight for independence, regaled us with the folklore of our culture, immersed us in the vibrant Creole, Haitian Creole language, and instructed us to venerate what Haitians refer to as l'école, l'église, lacaille, thank you, education, church, and home. They also demonstrated what it looks like to stand for Haiti and Haitians through local organizing and community engagement. What I did not realize but see so clearly now is that their efforts were also a form of resistance against false narratives about Haiti. It's a really important piece, and I encourage everyone to read it. And I really thank all four of you and the many others who are doing so much positive work. In many cases, it's one of the most difficult things to do in life is to see the humanity for somebody that you don't know and have no experience or communal experience with. And so it both breaks my heart to see what some of the vitriolic language has been like, but also the fact that so many folks, like Chair Wells saw on the comment today, are willing to stand up and say, this is not how we treat people in this town. This is not how we treat people in this Commonwealth. So again, thank you very much. And then just, I know that people watching and thinking about helping, there was a suggestion around ESL skills. And I also would encourage you guys to reach out to the school committee, and I'm sure we'd be happy to send them a note as well, if that'd be helpful, to ask the question specifically about what resources are available in the schools. But if folks have, so ESL skills were mentioned. Is French a helpful skill for folks? I know that Haitian Creole is its own language, and so I don't want to presume that if someone speaks French, they're going to be able to help a family from Haiti as well. But if someone's looking for tutoring help for their child, if we have a lot of kids in Milton that are in a French immersion program and they might be interested in helping out. So I'm curious if that would be useful or not.
Yeah, it's not the majority, but you do have few who come with very strong educational background, and it could be they went to school in Haitian Creole only. It could be that they went to school in a French system. So yes.
So that could be useful.
It can be helpful.
And who should they, is it Milton welcoming Haitian newcomers that they should reach out to if that's something they're interested in doing?
We've been working with Immigrant Family Services Institute, and they have a whole group that does ESL classes.
Okay.
That's probably in your group too. You have some people too, but Milton welcoming Haitian newcomers, we're not really the central point to refer people to, but
okay.
IFC and some of the pastors that are active too. Yeah, Immigrant Family Services Institute is located right over the line in Mattapan, right? Off of River Street and Blue Hill Ave, so it's a convenient place. They have classes there too. They're overwhelmed, but.
Anyone else?
I do want to say that I am with the Association of Haitian Women. We do tutoring for kids on Saturdays from 2 to 5. And we have a math volunteer who's been there for 22 years. And we do need help, especially with English. It could be ESL, it could be ELA as well, English Language Arts, especially for SAT prep. And it's from 2 to 5 on Saturdays. And they're newly arrived kids, all of them.
Great.
Anyone else? Ms. Bradley? Mr. Cohen?
I'll just say a quick thing. I just wanted to thank you all for coming in and for what you're doing, the work that you're doing. Very important work, so thank you. I work in healthcare, and the type of work I do, a lot of the caregivers are Haitian, and wonderful work. We work very collaboratively together, so I think it's wonderful what you're doing as well, so thank you.
So thank you all. You've had a long day. I will quote your friend, Pastor Kiki, who stated this morning, immigrants make America stronger. For many years of my life, I attended a church in Dorchester, a Catholic church.
Really?
And I recall as a young first attending, it was not by intention, it was really by chance and landed in my lap. It was a white Irish Catholic priest from South Boston who had spent the majority of his life in South America and came back to take over a church on Lingard Street. And it was a split Haitian and Latin American. It's mostly Latin American, but it was about a 50-50 split in those days. But I remember two young girls who grew up in that church, who because of their faith and their learning of commitment to public service and to humanity, went on to have very successful careers in public office. One was Marie St. Fleur. The second was Linda Docina, who you heard today. So never doubt your conviction, never doubt your faith, and never doubt your effort. Thank you all very much for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go home and get some sleep. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 5, which is a recognition. We don't get this very often, but there have been some significant promotions within the police department. And I'll invite Chief King to come grab a table if you want to. And then you got it. Come on up on the front row, gentlemen. Grab one more chair.
Hi, everybody. I'll be very brief as always. Just basically we're here tonight. There's 4 individuals that got promoted. This is kind of a trickle-down effect based on retirements. Most recently, Jimmy O'Neill, who was the deputy chief. He was the longest serving member of the department. He'd been deputy chief the last 7.5 years. So his retirement led to a chain reaction of promotion, so to speak. So I tend to be brief, but, promotions are key. The police in the field itself is, under a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of new regulations. At the same time, the police are called to a much broader array of issues, it seems. So, I think it's critical to have talented leadership in our supervisory roles. And I'll just give you a kind of a brief, Pat Nee,
Promoted to sergeant.
he started in 2011 with our department. He started through the cadet program, worked there, worked his way up to a police officer, and has worked in that role since. And this leads to him becoming a sergeant. Now he'll be a supervisor, kind of a role model to the younger officers on the street, helping guide them and enforce the regulations of the department. Brendan Douglas, next over, who was here last month, so you might recognize him for an award. Brendan Douglas started in 1998. He also was through our cadet program, worked his way up through that, became a police officer, worked several years as a police officer, got promoted to sergeant. He's kind of already proven his leadership skills in that role, has been a good supervisor, good to the department, good to the town, good for the individuals who work below him. He's moving up to the rank of lieutenant, where he'll have a little less maybe direct supervision like Pat's going to assume, but a little more rule and, policies and operations and overseeing like an entire division. And then Mark Alba and Mike Collins, both being promoted to deputy chief. Mark Alba started in 1989. He's currently now the longest serving member of the police department, not to age him.
I remember, that's why I'm trying to.
He is would have the most years in the entire department right now, and right on his heels, a few years behind him, about 4 years behind him, is Mike Collins, who started in 1993. So they're both moving to deputy chief, somewhat different roles. Mark's going to oversee pretty much everything administrative, and Mike's going to oversee everything operations wise. And just a quick history on them. Mark, similar cadet program, worked in that, became a police officer, worked as a sergeant for several years. People in this room might associate him mostly with his last role as lieutenant because he oversees traffic, community service officers. So he's kind of the face of the department when it comes to like our mental health, our substance use, traffic, the traffic commission, things like that.
Best committee in town, traffic commission.
Yeah, so he's had a lot of contact with, other town officials, working with the DPW, the town administrator, people like that in that role. Mike Collins is the only one who wasn't a member of the cadet program, but he did during those years, those 4 years after Mark, while he was not here, he worked in 2 similar jobs. He had worked summers in Barnstable on Cape Cod as a police officer, and he had worked for the federal government down in Washington, D.C., and doing a lot of stuff back then, weirdly, that I'm probably torturing him with 30 years later, doing policies and stuff like that to make the police operate better. Mike is the only person I can think of in the department now who's worked in every role with that department as a supervisor, from the court prosecutor, training and licensing, detectives, you name it, every special assignment there, Mike's kind of done. So he brings a broad experience base to his new role. That's really all I have to say other than to wish them luck.
Questions, comments, anyone first? So I'll do it and I'll be brief. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for coming in. The 4 of you, as as you probably know, that I understand a little about your profession, but you're being promoted at a time in life where this profession has probably never been under such scrutiny as it is. I often say, as the four of you know, I teach quite a bit to police officers across the Commonwealth, and I often begin with, why would you want to be in policing today in the year 2024? But the answer to that is, it points to the greatness of policing. The four of you know the thing that from majority of you come into people's lives in their worst day on things that they can never imagine, things they'd never want to go through, and things that they should never have to go through. But each and every day, 24 hours a day, police officers just like you in cities and towns just like this are the most conspicuous form of government in the United States. They answer calls of citizens in need and citizens in trouble in a way that few in this world can imagine. So we wanted to have you in tonight because this is a significant accomplishment for the four of you in each of your lives, whether it's Pat, who's starting as a sergeant, or Michael and Mark and Brendan, who are Mark and Michael, I'm lost. Mark and Michael, who are being promoted to the second highest rank in the job, and Brendan, who I'm sure we'll see many, many times in life here, who's been a leader in more ways than I can count. So on behalf of all of us in this community, congratulations and thank you very much, and thank you, Chief. I want to do this because sometimes people they're quick to criticize when it comes to this profession, and rare do they say thank you or bring praise when something significant happens. And having studied for each rank that each of you hold and have to wait to get it, I know how important it is to each of you. So on behalf of all of us, congratulations and thank you very much for your commitment to this community. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I take 1 minute on an
Sure,
unrelated
Chief.
matter? I just, we've had 2 shootings in the last month.
Are you going to make
incidents,
Roxanne happy?
and I know
People would like to know.
I know this had generated maybe some questions to the board, understandably. So I'm happy to address it, but nothing like christening new people. Mike Collins, weirdly, before he transitioned, was wrapping up his role as commander detective. So he was kind of the lead supervisor on that case. And Mark is our new public information officer. So, I feel they
It's like
might be
Elaine's
better
not here.
suited to address it than me. I'm happy to, but I feel like Mike led that investigation. So in fairness, I defer to him. Mark's the public information officer. If Mark wants to add in or something, I give you the both of that.
So this is the house that's been shot upon twice by the Tucker ass.
Good evening. Again, Mike Collins, newly appointed Deputy Chief of Operations for the Police Department. There's been an address in Tucker Street was targeted twice by gunfire, once in late August, once in early September. That has been investigated by the Detective Bureau at the Milton Police Department, specifically Detective Louis Ballard and Officer John Bender have led that investigation. Their investigation did lead to identifying a suspect. They sought and were granted an arrest warrant for that suspect. That suspect is now in custody and being held. I'm happy to answer any questions.
We won't jeopardize your investigation.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Don't
Thank you.
jeopardize your investigation.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you very much. And thank you all for coming in, and congratulations to each of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you. So from a point of joy to a point of sadness, for the last time, I'd like to welcome our DPW Director, Chase Berkeley, to discuss our 2025 stormwater fee. Are you waiving it for the year? No way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Chase Berkeley, Director of Public Works. So, we'll get down to business first, right? So we're here with a recommendation for the current year, FY25 stormwater utility rates. So the department oversees 3 enterprise funds: water, sewer, and stormwater. They're separate and distinct in terms of financials. So each enterprise fund gets funded by utility bills, not by taxes. And so in the case of your water and sewer bill, it seems pretty simple and intuitive. We have a meter in your house. We meter how much water you use, and that determines your fee to pay for water and sewer. Stormwater is not the same, whereas we don't have any way to measure how much water hits every property. So the way it's distributed in a proportioned is by the amount of impervious area or hard surface on your property, and essentially how much runoff does your property generate and contribute to our what we call MS4 system, which is our stormwater collection system, which we have permits from the EPA and DEP for to operate, and then discharge that water into the local streams and waterways, and most notably the Neponset River, which is under high scrutiny for its water quality. So in terms of the budget for this year, if you could go to the next slide, please. So as you see, is a $59,000 increase year over year on just about $1 million budget. So it's about a 5% and change increase. That increase is purely contractual. So one of the biggest costs under the Stormwater Enterprise Fund is the yard waste collection and disposal. That's a contractual increase. So that's worked into that number. And then along with that, so I know this bill sometimes can be controversial, but to give you a little bit of tangible services that this money goes directly towards. So it pays outright for 7% of the DPW workers' salaries. So there's a salary component. The yard waste I mentioned, which is the biggest component by far. It pays for all of our street sweeping activities and disposal of that material. The catch basin cleaning, so the drains that are in the gutters along the streets, to take that material out and then dispose of it. And we host the annual hazardous waste collection, so it pays for that event and the disposal of all that material. So there really are a lot of tangible and quantifiable outcomes that this fund pays for. So even though it can be a hard concept to accept that we're paying for rain to fall, it does actually work out to be a big benefit to the department. And as we've said in years past, every property pays this fee. There's no exempt properties. There's no tax exemption for this. This is a utility fee. So even properties that don't pay property tax pay the stormwater utility fee. So, and that includes our large institutions and, commercial properties. Yeah. So that slide that's up there now is just to give you an idea of what the average home will see for an increase. So you can see the smallest properties is a $1 increase for the year. And then, up to the largest tier, which is, you have to have half a football field worth of surface to fit in that tier. About $30 to $40 there. So, at a time of severe inflation, that's somewhat, expected with all of our costs rising for everything we do. And then just finally on the next slide, just to give you an idea and give Alan Bishop, our GIS analyst, some credit. He very meticulously goes through aerial images on a continual basis.
That's an understatement. Go ahead.
And so we subscribe to a product called NearMap, which flies the town 4 times a year, and then we get those images in, and we can use those to update as people modify their properties. A lot of pools and additions built over the last few years with the pandemic and everything. So we try to capture that and be as fair as possible so that each resident pays their fair share.
I remember when it began as pictometry, and we had to come to the select board to get it approved because we were going to fly the town and take pictures. It was a big deal.
The technology today is very helpful, and it automates a lot of that work. So it makes it, it reduces our costs to have to maintain that current information. So we'll be just asking for an approval on the proposed rate from you guys tonight, and happy to answer any questions or dive into anything you'd like to.
So just a quick question for the purpose of the motion, it's a fee increase of 5%?
I think maybe just
5.9
the rate as outlined on the second slide, which is $2.61 per 100 square feet.
Okay, so our motion has it in a percent. So
Right.
$2.61 per 100 square feet?
Yes.
Anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
As I just stated?
As you
Okay.
just stated.
Awesome. Second?
Second.
Do we have a second? You said
Yes,
second by Ms. Musto. Ms. Musto. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. So, I know this is your last meeting. What'd you say?
I said, I don't believe it. I don't want to see him go. I love Chase.
I kind of, I remember when you arrived here, and not long after you arrived, Mr. Dennehy, the former town administrator, gave you the nickname CB12, which was, that's his call sign on the radio, which was right in the height of TB12. But I was here when you came on board. You've done a brilliant job for this community.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed working here, and I really appreciate the support from this board and the previous boards. It does seem like yesterday that I walked into a room with yourself, Mr. Chair, and Katie Conlon and David Burns to introduce myself.
Yeah,
And
I remember.
time flies, but in my job too, it's you do a lot of big picture stuff. You plow streets. You have to make sure that the drinking
You
water.
used to plow streets.
Yeah.
You used to plow streets.
You want to make sure the drinking water that comes out of the faucet's clean and safe to drink. But for me personally, it was the small victories. Fixing the street light on someone's corner, or making sure someone's trash got picked up that got missed. That's what gave me my energy to continue. So, I guess I learned that from a couple of mayors.
Anyone? Questions? Ms. Bradley.
I will just say, Chase, you have been incredible to work with. You have always answered every phone call, every email I've ever sent with professionalism and grace, and just we're going to get this done right away. And I am really going to miss you, and I'm going to miss that level-headedness about just taking care of something in the course of the day. So I wish you the best of luck in your future and with your 4 children. And I'm going to miss you personally, and thank you for everything you've done.
Oh, thanks very much.
Mrs. Musto.
Thank you. I also want to say thank you for all that you've done. Every time that I've had to reach out to you on behalf of a resident, you immediately had it done. I didn't even have to ask another time. It was done by the end of the day. And I think the residents really noticed that, of how well you did your job, and always picked up a phone, always got back to me on anything, always did that with the residents. And I think that's really important to anybody in that role. And I think we will sorely miss you here in Milton. I mean, I wish you the best of luck in your new job. It's definitely a great win for them and a great loss for us because of all that you've done for this town. And this is, 7 years that you've been here, I guess?
Yep.
And never once did you miss a beat. If I called you on anything, needed some follow-up on something, you already had the answers 95% of the time. The second time I'd call you, you already had it all done. So I really want to thank you for that.
Oh, thanks very much. But
Thank you.
we do have to give credit to the people that do the real work, which is
I know you do.
the men and the women of the
Absolutely.
departments. And I would
Absolutely.
be nothing without their their self-motivated attitudes and willingness to just get it done, whatever it takes, and fight through those long hours and in tough conditions. So
Well, it's definitely a team effort, but it's the leadership that matters.
Yeah.
To get the employees to want to do their job and have pride in their work too. So thank you.
you're welcome.
Culture comes from the top.
Right.
Oh, thank
True.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Mr.
John?
Payne?
You hear pluses and minuses about people, but I have to tell you, Chase, I only hear pluses.
You haven't talked to my wife then yet.
Well,
Hold on, we'll get her on the phone.
But I understand you get the complaints. I went in to see, as you know, I talked to Greg, and I got an email, and a neighbor had an issue with the sign, and I went in and talked to him, and it was like, fix that day. And I joke with him because I said, I've only been in this job for a little while, but this is the most rewarding day I've had so far. I actually got something done. Something got done, So anyway, I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
wish
glad
you
to
the
hear
best
that.
of
Yeah,
luck.
thank you.
You good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Same as everybody.
Thank you.
I've always been very impressed with your work and work in your department.
So I know you're not a man for fanfare, and he's like, no goodbye parties, no, he's very similar. I can relate to that. But I'll say this to you, and this is a quote that I heard many years ago by someone who was OFT, who was leaving their position here after 44 years. And it was a person who didn't say a lot of things in life, but on that day, he was asked a question about how he felt about leaving on the last day to a place he'd given so much to in this town. And he said, when you leave a place you've given so much to, ask yourself but one simple question. Is it a little bit better today as you leave than it was before you arrived? So when you leave 629 Randolph Ave, back, you know the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Item number 8. No, item 7, I'm sorry, Ms. Stacy. Please, report of the Climate Action Planning Committee. We jumped from one to another. Yeah. It's only 8 o'clock. Look at that, John. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, all. I'm Alex Hasha, the chair of the Climate Action Planning Committee. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to share our progress report with you and get your feedback on our work. That's really what I'm most interested in getting. Since the Climate Action Planning Committee may be new to some of you, I wanted to start with a brief review of our mission and our charge from the Select Board. So our committee's mission is to advise and engage the Milton community on how to mitigate the damaging impacts of climate change. Next slide, please.
Oh, you're running it, Nick? Okay.
And our charge from the Select Board defines how we go about doing that. We're to prepare a climate action plan for consideration by town meeting that addresses the strategies and best practices for reducing community-wide greenhouse gas emissions in alignment with the targets set by Massachusetts law. And additionally, we're to do that via a process that engages residents, experts, and other stakeholders and integrates with existing town bylaws, policies, and processes. Next slide, please. So when we say in alignment with targets set by Massachusetts law, a reminder of what that means. In 2021, Massachusetts passed a landmark climate law that commits the state to achieving net zero emissions of climate warming pollution by 2050. And achieving this goal requires starting now with technologies available today. So Massachusetts' strategy relies on promoting energy efficiency and electrification, which is transitioning from fossil fuels to electricity for heating, cooking, and transportation. And at the same time, enormous investments are being made to expand the supply and reliability of clean electricity and to maintain the capacity of our natural and working lands to absorb the remaining emissions. That's the net in net zero. Next slide, please. So where does Milton's climate warming pollution come from? The top sources are transportation, buildings, gas leaks, and solid waste. 53% comes out of our tailpipes, 42% goes to heat, cool, and power our homes and buildings. Roughly 3% come from natural gas and refrigerant leaks, and the last 2% comes from the management of our solid waste stream. And we've estimated that natural greenery that surrounds us can absorb about 6% of that each year. From 2017 to 2022, Milton's greenhouse gas emissions actually increased by 3.6%. So we're going in the wrong direction, and we need to turn things around. Next slide, please. So some of the key outcomes that state planning sees as necessary to meet these climate goals are summarized here. And even after aggressively summarizing it, it's still too much to read word for word, but you can see that these are massive undertakings. We must work towards a majority of existing buildings completing energy efficiency renovations. We need to replace aging heating and cooling equipment with electric heat pumps, installing on-site renewable energy on the majority of houses, mostly solar. Replacing the vast majority of vehicles with electric or non-emitting alternatives, and drastically improving access to and the safety of alternative modes of transport. There will need to be a dramatic reduction in solid waste disposal. 90% by 2050 is in the state's master plan, because in-state landfills will be closing in the next decade, and that also involves diverting a great deal of food waste to composting facilities. And finally, we'll need to proactively manage our forests and significantly expand tree cover and land and permanent conservation status. So those are the highlights of the big boulders that need to be moved. Next slide, please. So this is a lot of ground to cover, and our committee has organized into working groups covering key sources of climate warming pollution and adaptation to climate risks. We're focused on researching near-term strategies that can start us moving as a town in this direction. And you can use this roster in the future to know who to reach out to on any of these topics. Next slide, please. So here's a high-level outline of our work plan and target timelines. So I'll admit they are slipping given the amount of work required. First, we aim to complete a draft climate action plan for the select board and the community to review. We've learned from our public engagement efforts last year that residents need more specific proposals to react to for engagement to be effective, and a comprehensive draft plan will provide those. Our community engagement will combine general outreach to raise awareness with focused engagement on specific strategies and recommendations in the plan to refine and prioritize the proposals and build buy-in and support. And after that, we hope to finalize the plan based on feedback and seek formal endorsements. Once we have a plan approved, we see a need for the committee to continue its work supporting implementation and creating a process to update the plan regularly. Next slide, please. So finally, the important slide, what we need from you to be successful. In the near term, budget for consulting support would help us move faster and get better results. Most towns engage consulting support to develop a climate action plan, particularly to facilitate robust community engagement, without which the plan will just be a document on the shelf. In particular, our committee doesn't have the expertise to produce an annual update to the greenhouse gas inventory, which was requested in our charge. That was prepared by consultants last year. We also need your input on the approval process. Most other town caps are endorsed by the select board and a town meeting vote. We could use your help fleshing out what that process, approval process ought to look like in Milton. And then in the longer term, it's critical that we begin planning now for the staffing and resources that will be required to coordinate and execute a plan. It's too much and too important to depend entirely on a volunteer committee. There's a great deal of state, federal, and private funding and support becoming available for this work. And a recent article in the Boston Globe highlighted the fiscal benefits that sustainability staff have had in other Massachusetts towns, helping them access generous sources of funding for sustainability projects and providing much needed coordination. In general, we need advice and partnership from the select board and town staff on how to proactively engage town hall in the long-term planning needed to tackle this, and not be playing catch up as the world changes around us. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm eager to hear your questions and feedback. Thanks.
Can you hold, Nick, can you hold that last slide just for a second? Questions or comments?
I'll go, Mr. Chair.
I have two. You're good.
You go first if you like.
So just two. So when we talk about a near term, a budget for consulting support, like what are you talking about for a dollar amount?
So in terms of the last request for sort of help on how to engage proactively, like that's an area where I don't even personally I don't know how to do an RFP. I don't know what consultants cost in general. I do know the work with Apex last year to produce our greenhouse gas inventory, and also there was a little bit of design work and a sort of strategy recommendations, but primarily the greenhouse gas inventory. That was a $50,000 contract funded by a grant, I believe, but it was before I got involved, so I don't know the details.
So you're looking at any of our neighboring communities to see what they might be doing in plagiarism is alive and well. It should be is it all time. Are you looking at any of our neighbors to see how they're? Because one of your issues here, I'm already watching another community, so not this one, a different one. Have you done that at all or no?
Yeah, I mean, that has been most of the substance of our research so far is amassing the climate action plans from other towns in Massachusetts. We have about 30, and also the state's plans. It's personally, I've been a little embarrassed at how hard it is to sort through it and get it all organized, and we're continuing to work on that. And of course, the sort of best practices have been evolving rapidly. So if you look at a plan from 2019, some of the goals in there are sort of far outstripping what the state has settled on as a consensus. And so you look at newer plans and they're more aligned with the state's goals. So we're just trying to bring together the best ideas that we can find from what the state and other towns are doing, keep them updated with what we know today. And So yes. And another thing we noticed is that most of them work with consultants to get it done.
And just the last point, I chair the capital committee, but I'm watching very closely with regards to vehicle fleets. One police department, Cambridge, which I have a little bit of inside info and with someone that I live with, they want to be the first all-electric police fleet in the Commonwealth. And it's very challenging because it's getting the infrastructure to be able to support quick. Because right now, in a police cruiser, those officers, when their shift ends, they gas the car. It takes minutes, 10 minutes, and then the next shift comes on and gets in the same car. Right now, in electric vehicles, there just isn't the capability to charge a car in 10 minutes. And so those are some of the real infrastructure leaps that we're going to have to make to, and I don't even know where to begin with, like fire trucks and DPWD. I don't even know where we'll begin with. But we do talk about it on a capital, but it's a big, and I watch Cambridge closely because they're working very hard. They want to be first. And, I mean, you're going to plagiarize from them. I have no problem with that. So those are just my 2 points.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a plan that's been successful.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
What was that again?
There's no such thing as a plan that's been successful where we can, repeat.
Just take it. Right.
This is a weird project, an attempt to transform the global economy over the coming decades. So I think it takes a sort of marriage of a long-term perspective, working backwards from what does the science say are the necessary outcomes to avoid the worst risks of climate change, but also a willingness to start from the beginning, like what can we do to get the ball rolling? Because a lot of these changes won't happen in equal steps from now to 2050. You have to
push
lay the groundwork for it
to make it happen. Yes. Anyone else? Sorry, Mr. Zoll.
Just a couple of quick questions. Thank you, Mr. Hasher, for this update. It's it remains the critical issue of our generation. You mentioned that some towns use sustainability staff or have like a sustainability director, and those folks will find resources then for the town. Could you just maybe expound on that a little bit? Like, is it do they end up being net revenue positives type positions because of the resources that they find?
So I don't have comprehensive data on that. I have a lot of anecdotal evidence that especially towns that were early movers have seen net positive returns from sustainability staff who could bring in more in grant funding than they cost. I'd say it's hardly a guarantee. The trends are that the sources of funding, both federal, state, and private, are growing, and so is competition for it.
For the funds.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
We used to be the #1 leader in recyclables. We were like we were one of the first in. We reaped the greatest benefit from it, and then as other communities got into it, and the challenges to send your recycling other places, it went from a net positive to almost, it's like the same as solid waste today.
If I can,
Go ahead.
just two more quick questions. Next, I wonder if, particularly on the waste side, the number of Milton residents that have been composting using Black Earth, which is a private service, we just hit a particular milestone, so the price just dropped for folks in Milton that are composting. I've noticed that in our house where we have 4 teenagers and 2 normal adults, that even with the teenagers, with composting, we still only use 1 trash barrel a week. And I imagine that for some folks, they might find that they don't even need a whole trash barrel a week. They might only have to put the trash every other week, particularly if you're not putting food waste in your trash, and you're not getting that residue that you might get with food waste. I wonder if it would be an interest to think about having some sort of a town-wide push, or thinking about ways that we could work as a town to incentivize folks to join into a composting service. I don't really know what it would cost. I don't really know what the benefits would be. I would suspect that there would be benefits for folks that are participating in terms of like reducing the amount of trash stickers or trash barrels they might need. And it would also, I know, cut down on our greenhouse gas emissions. Is that something that we've looked at, or is that something that your committee you think would be interested in following up on?
Yes, definitely. I can speak for Sustainable Milton that composting is one of the top focuses for our board, and there's several folks who are instrumental in advocating and spreading the word about Black Earth to get to 300, who are very interested in getting to 600, which is the next subscriber count at which another discount kicks in. Last year, there was a very labor-intensive pilot in the schools at Glover and Tucker, where volunteers coordinated by Sustainable Milton and with help from the town helped the children compost their food waste for a period of about a month. I wasn't directly involved, so I apologize if I get the details wrong. And they're very interested. There's a lot learned from that in terms of the volumes of waste that can be diverted, and also challenges in terms of getting buy-in from custodial staff to do that without volunteer support. But there's a lot of interest in doing something again with the schools, maybe with the high school this year. Not necessarily diverting, not exactly the same thing, but I think working with the kids is a great way to bend the curve for the coming decades as well.
Great. And then my last question, if I may, Mr. Chair.
No problem.
Given your committee's interest in thinking about grant support, but also your lack of familiarity with the RFP process and things like that, I wonder if it wouldn't be worthwhile sitting down with some town staff to kind of go through the basics, and then also to be able to come back and sort of represent what would a sustainability officer cost, what would some of these consultants cost, just so that we have some at least baseline figures to kick around.
So just a follow-up to what Mr. Zoll said prior. So Mr. Clark, who was the planning director prior to Tim, and Mr. Ritchie, who was the consolidated facilities, when this issue first started to come to the surface, we did very well with everything from lighting to windows to solar to electric charging stand. I mean, they were, and to Mr. Zoll's point, it's kind of shifted, because before you even asked the question, that's been in my mind. Someone other than yourselves on our side, the town side, someone has to champion this to push this forward, because it won't get done by itself, and I don't think it's fair to your committee for you to have to do this alone. So, Ms. Bradley and then Mr.
I just
Cohen,
wanted to
go ahead.
follow up on what you had said, the earlier conversation between the two of you about compiling information from other towns. And I wonder if, I was trying to whisper to Nick, but he didn't get it.
Couldn't read your lips.
He couldn't read my lips, but I'm wondering if the MMA can help out with that at all. I don't know if they have somebody on staff that does climate stuff for towns.
They do not have someone on staff that does climate stuff for towns. The state has the Green Communities program where we have a regional coordinator.
Okay.
Dylan Patel.
Yes, he's been in touch with us. Yeah.
Okay.
I've talked to him here. I've talked to him in the town I live in because he's got a very strange region.
Yeah, that is strange.
But and from my experience with Green Communities on the state side, there's a number of different models, from having a staff person to having a consultant that's shared between multiple communities.
Okay.
All meant to make it as reasonable as possible on the resource side.
Great.
To try to get the return that you're talking about, where it does become net positive rather than a break even or an expense that doesn't return it. And they generally help with both the GHG inventories, but then also sort of annually looking for opportunities at the state and federal level. So it's something we can explore what model would work and come back and speak to you all about the different opportunities that may exist.
Ms. Cohen. Ms. Bradley, good? Yeah. Ms. Cohen.
Another, not to add to the list, but another thing, especially in my industry, it comes up a lot is solar. And it seems to me like everybody's out there negotiating individually. And we should do that collectively. You know, everybody's out there on their own negotiating these deals, and it's definitely something we should plan on somehow arranging for that to be collectively done. It could, you know, strengthen numbers and everything. And everybody's out there individually. You see them popping up everywhere, but everybody does it on their own. So that'd be something.
Yeah. So something that we've seen a lot of other towns do that I'm excited about in the sort of building emissions area are electrification programs, where not just for solar, but there's a whole raft of home renovations, from inexpensive things that are paid for by Mass Save to major upgrades. There are significant incentives available, but navigating those and even just understanding what is it that I'm supposed to do again? Why is it a good thing for the climate, and why is it not going to wreck my home? Just bringing all the information together and supporting residents. Focusing on the folks who are willing and able today, I think, to make these changes is my preference, so that we start building up some track record and some positive stories, right? It's sort of like, if we couldn't be talking about transitioning to EVs today if we didn't have 10 years with Tesla making electric vehicles cool, right? So you have to start by making heat pumps cool, which we'll see how that goes.
Mr. Musk just like that little ad he just gave right there.
No, I'm not going to say anything about Mr. Musk. I want to echo what Mr. Cohen said, because I think it's an excellent idea. And I think in particular, you've got folks that are interested in lowering their electricity bills. They have people that are knocking on their doors and they don't know if they can trust them. People that that they get stuff in the mail from them, they're not sure. And I think collectively, if there was a way for the town to put together some sort of a plan that could allow people to opt in totally, voluntarily.
Similar to like cable, like we do with cable.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Energy.
We do with the electricity plan.
Right.
Where
That was all her.
know that whoever's going to come in is going to be town approved, and that you're going to be getting the same kind of work done that your neighbors are getting done, and you have a decent plan. And we know not everybody's home is going to be ready for solar. We know not everybody wants solar on their home, but having some sort of a town program like that, I think, particularly to take the risk out of it, where people really don't know, and there are some bad operators out there in the solar space, to figure out how our residents could have access to it. Because I have solar in my house, and I absolutely love it. I've had it for 3 years, and it's like I love getting paid by the energy company every year. It's like it still hasn't paid itself off, but we're getting there. It's really, really fantastic.
So I'll quickly plug for the enormous audience at home.
It's bigger than you think it is, believe me. It's bigger than you think it is.
I'm taking the opportunity. Sustainable Milton has an action platform, action.sustainablemilton.org, which is pulled together a lot of this kind of information as best as we're able. I think we would like to do like approved vendors. It's the sort of thing we don't quite know how to get started with it, and so it's something we'd welcome advice from the town on the right way to do that. We do point to there are several for-profit and not-for-profit companies that provide vetted lists of contractors. Mass Save has a home energy contractor certification program, so there's a list there. So there's some resources for people who want to begin due diligence. We haven't gone as far as saying you should absolutely work with this company. And that can get dicey. I put solar on my house with the company that did solarize Milton in like 2018, and I had a bad experience with them. So
yeah,
but the solar works great.
Thank you. Oh, did you want to go ahead?
Just one last quick one too, and it struck me tonight, and I didn't realize it, and I think a public awareness program would be good. So if I get a electric vehicle, I can reduce my greenhouse gas footprint by 50%. Right? A person can basically, from what you're showing here, a person can reduce their footprint by 53% by
roughly. So a
Well,
lot of that,
somewhere
a lot
there.
of that is cut through traffic.
What's that?
A lot of that 53% is
Cut
cut
through.
through traffic.
Oh, we know all about cut-through traffic. We know all about it here. You've come to the right place.
Tell me about it.
There's another aligned interest.
But it's substantial, at
it's-
any
it's
rate. It's
significant, yes.
substantial, significant, yeah.
Really, your furnace, your electricity, and your car are the three big levers of our personal footprint.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. With regards to the solar, aren't there also programs where they have freestanding discs? For some of the larger properties, we have a freestanding disc that opens up and closes, follows the sun. I think there are some of those as well. I've seen in other towns.
I know at least one person who has them. It's not the typical. I mean, you have to have plenty of extra land for it.
Right. But I mean, I think you should have all options. And then the other question I guess I have is with regards to Eversource. Has there been any follow-up to find out in terms of their resources available to, like if people are going electric and adding these things onto their homes, are they pretty quick at doing this stuff? Because I'm hearing that there's a huge backlog, that they just can't get enough employees to do this kind of work. And so I have friends in other towns that do some commercial things. A friend of mine who's an architect actually, and she said that there's a real big backlog in Eversource getting out there to do some of these things. So I don't know if there's any, if you've noticed any change with that, or you have any, update on that end of things.
So it is an issue. I don't know if people are uniformly seeing it's an interconnection approval. It's like Eversource doesn't actually come out and do any work, but they need to review plans for anything that's going to put energy onto the grid, and make sure that you're not going to blow out your local transformer, basically. And so depending on exactly where you are, that can lead to delays if there's limited capacity on your section of the grid. And it's definitely true that it would not be possible for every Milton resident to go out and install solar panels today without breaking something. So the utilities are aware of this law, and they have both submitted plans out to 2050 for approval by the DPU this year that lay out a pathway to doubling or I think 2.5 times increase of the load that they can deliver to support electrification, and a pathway to having it all come from clean electricity sources. Do I think that that's going to go smoothly and like on time in every respect? I do not. So I do think that one of the things that needs to be in the plan is for Milton to have develop a relationship with the utilities and know how to keep track of whether our corner of the grid is on track for these things. I've only gotten as far as learning at which substation serves us.
Serves you.
And I think we have somewhat lower solar capacity than some other towns in the region, because we're served by a substation that serves South Boston.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good?
Good.
Thank you. You've been here
Thank you
long
so
enough. Thank
much.
you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay. So, item number 8, discussion approval one-day liquor license applications. We have 2 before us, one from Historic New England on the Eustace Estate and one from the Wakefield Charitable Trust. And we have a motion before us.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Historic New England Eustace Estate, October 27, 2024, from 3 to 5 p.m. Importance of being furnished. I have to put my glasses on. I'm really sorry.
Doing well.
Importance of being furnished exhibition closing with the History Project. And secondly, to approve a one-day liquor license for the Wakefield Charitable Trust, October 4th, 2024, 4 to 8 p.m. for the NAOM climbing competition.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9, same thing. We have an application from the Milton Asian American Pacific Islanders AAPI Neighbors Group to use the Town Green Baron Hugh gazebo on Sunday, September 29th.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion. Do you want me to continue it?
Sure,
or-
go ahead. You can just go right from where I was. So that'll be the motion.
Yep. On Sunday, September 29th, 2024, from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. for the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival.
Second.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Item number 10, discussion approval, application use Manning Park, Milton Chamber of Commerce, 555 Adams Street for Halloween stroll on Saturday, October 26th, 2024, 3 to 5, and the holiday stroll and tree lighting Saturday, December 7th, 2024, from 3 to 5, and I'll make that as a full motion if someone would second that.
I'll second.
Can I make a quick comment, Mr. Chair?
No. Go ahead.
We had discussed
Yes.
the possibility of having menorah.
So
up.
Mr.
This-
Milano's looking into that.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
so
And,
that-
and I know Hanukkah actually starts on December 25th this year, so it's a
Yeah.
Chrismica year.
So-
So I don't think this is it's tied to it. I just wanted to mention that.
We
was
didn't
something-
forget it, and
I
it's
just want
it's
to
in the
mention
works.
something
Okay,
we're working
okay,
on for
it's in the
people who
works,
are
yeah.
watching.
It's in the works. Okay. So, second, did someone second?
I did.
Ms. Musto, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To be visited later. Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 11, Town Administrator's Report. Mr. Connor, well, who wants to start off with, you want to start off with the good? I'll wait. Go ahead.
I don't know where we're going with that, but
I was going to congratulate
you can
Mr.
start with that
I'll
if you'd
wait.
like, but I can leave that for you. The two things I just wanted to mention, one, we were talking about electricity. The new rate for the community electricity aggregation goes into effect, I believe, in November. Communications will start from Good Energy this week. And we're also going to be posting on social media and our website a copy of the same letter with the same information. It's a new 3-year negotiated rate. It's still below the Eversource, basic electricity service. And then I think Mr. Zoli, you raised the idea of more green. There are 3 options. It's a Milton Basic, Milton Green, and Milton 100% Green. So that's something that any participant can choose to pay a slightly higher rate if they would like to. So that's one of the things that I wanted to raise. So it was timely that you spoke about it tonight. And then the other thing, just for everyone's notice, we're getting the final certificates of occupancy and everything for the old firehouse. It will be ready for use for meetings, although not fully teched out yet, very shortly. In the next week or two, we'll be able to use it for meetings in order to support things like hybrid and that sort of thing. It'll be a little bit longer. We're finalizing both with Milton Cable and also with our IT staff exactly what we need to be able to do both the ones that will be broadcast and ones that will just be hybrid among the folks that are meeting. So those are the 2 things we wanted to highlight this week.
You want to mention yesterday?
What?
You
You can, if you
No,
want.
go
to
ahead.
spoke to
Go
it.
ahead.
So yesterday at Manning Park, there was an organization, the
American. That's why I asked you. I was going to tell you to bring it with you.
It's engineering companies that submit projects that they've done throughout the country for awards for work that made significant impacts in the communities where they were. The award it was a silver award of some sort,
It's
but
like the
also
American Road Show for
ACEC.
ACEC is for.
I'll look it up and I'll fill you in while you do your report if you'd like. But it was an opportunity for them to come together at the state level. MassDOT was there, elected officials from the state level were there as well, talking about all the coordination that went into it and the collaboration, and it was recognized nationally. HSH, which was the engineering firm, actually went to DC last year. The American Council of Engineering Companies, thank you. They went to DC last year to accept it because they were the ones that submitted it because they thought it was a project that really deserved it for the amount of effort that went into the work at the community level and also the coordination between state, federal, and local to try to make that improvement. So I'm not sure if I missed anything you'd like to highlight there.
No, I just, and this is for the park design, and as you noted yesterday, and I especially want to give a shout out to Rich Houghton from, it is now Halverson Tie and Bond is the new company. Halverson Tie and Bond purchased Halverson, who was the park architect and designed the park. And I listened to a great presentation by someone today who said, give that park 5 years and wait to see what it looks like when the greenery and the trees really take hold and it really, they take off. And as I stated yesterday, Joe Manning represented this town for many, many years, and this park was named after him. And it really kind of sat idle, unused. And in the very short time that it's been alive and back in service, it's really been the opposite of what the naysayers would say. And I think to an event that I did there last year with a musical event prior to Milton Music Festival and I made mention of what the MAC and the Chamber hosted 2 weeks ago, where over 1,000 people came to celebrate everything from music to the entities that make up this community. And so in that aspect, it's a good thing for our community. There are so many hard things that happen here. There aren't a lot of good things. So there was a lot of interest. I was shocked when I walked over and just saw how many people came from how many different agencies to see this and to listen to this. So thank you to everyone, Bridget for Howard Stein, MassDOT, everyone Chase, who was there yesterday, who worked so hard to make this happen, and to all the residents who now get to enjoy it. Did you forget anything?
That was it. But I think
I want to ask him a question. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, I want to go back to electricity. You mentioned that we're renegotiating for November. Do people have to opt in to do that? Can you explain a little bit about, if you currently have it, you just continue to have it? If people want to join it, can they join it?
So the negotiation was completed in the spring on the rate. The rate goes into effect in November.
Okay.
If you're already in it, you just roll into the new rate.
Love it.
If you choose, once the new rate comes, that you don't like it and you'd like to pay full freight with Eversource, you can also do that. If someone moves to town and is not a participant, they can join at any time.
Okay. And how do they join? Do they contact you? Do they contact?
There's a website that Good Energy runs that will be part of the letter, part of what we post on our website, and part of what's posted on social media.
So it'll be on our website.
You can always call the town and we'll direct you to the right place. I don't want to give the wrong address right now.
No. That's good. That's good.
So you can call the select board office and one of us can direct you there, but we'll also be sending it out as part of the printed mail. And then we'll do the email blast and social and website posting.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Good. Yep. So Chair's report, I want to make mention on two things. One is that the town had a site visit from MSBA last week to the Cunningham School, which is actually the school that is listed as the applicant on the School Building Authority. Ms. Cohen was there as myself, as I was, the superintendent, Chair Carroll, Sean O'Rourke, the chair of the school building committee, the assistant super. It was Nick was there. It was well attended. It was very thorough, both from a historical perspective, going back to the prior award that was made almost 20 years ago, to everything about our capital investments, infrastructure challenges, as well as the student challenges. They toured every aspect of the school, especially noting the places that were not designated as classrooms when the school opened, that are used as classrooms today. I will say that I was impressed with the depth of their question. They had like five, John, about five. There were about five from the organization that came. Each one had a different responsibility, and each one asked questions specific to what they were responsible for. I was glad I was there because I went to school there, and I was able to tell them that it was originally two buildings. They were looking specifically where the buildings are matched, and there was a water damage or something there. And they asked the question, like, was this ever two buildings? I mean, yes, it was. It was an elementary and a middle for many, many years. So I was very pleased, and I was especially pleased with the responses of our personnel, what they were able to provide to the committee. And we will know in December, which, if this were to occur, and we're going to bring in, I believe they weren't ready for tonight, I believe both the superintendent and the school building committee chair at our October meeting to discuss what would be two parallel paths. One would be if we achieve funding, and the other is if we not. If we achieve the funding, it's about 44%. Was it about, right, John? About 45.3% reimbursement, which is really significant. So to those who've called, emailed, and everything, a lot of effort went into this, and I'm very grateful, and I'm very hopeful that we prevail on this. And John, I think you were there for anything that you want to add.
No, we may know actually as early, she did indicate we may know as early as late November. But, December 13th is the actual deadline.
They were very, very, I was impressed. And having been here, not for that aspect of it, but having been here when this process took place 17 or 18 years ago, I was very impressed with how thorough and their knowledge of our community and the system and so many aspects about it. Very impressed. So thank you to them and thank you to everyone who worked so hard to get it to this point so far.
Yeah.
And that'll do it the only other thing I want to mention is Saturday is the Ponce River Cleanup Day. So if you live anywhere along the Ponce River in Milton, Dorchester, Quincy, please take a minute to go out. Bring a trash bag. If you could just pick up whatever that you find and leave those bags along the side of the road. Each different public works will go around and collect them. DCR on their end of it next week. And this is an annual event. And I've already talked enough today. You already know my feelings about how I feel about our jewel, which is in the Ponce River. So, Mr. Zoll.
Can I just add, Mr. Chair? Last Saturday, it was wet, but we had a very successful Porch Fest. Went from noon to past 6 p.m. There were hundreds and hundreds of people around the streets in the Cliffs Columbine neighborhood and the Elliott Street corridor there. Really fantastic to see how many people were just turning out, in raincoats, listening to the fantastic music from folks from Milton, from around Milton, and from around the Commonwealth. It's always a great day. This is the second year in a row where we've had some precipitation. I think this year, even though it rained the whole day, it was almost better because we were all prepared for it. But it definitely means next year we'll be due for some sunny weather. But thank you so much to the volunteers that put this together. Just again to acknowledge Kate Middleton, who is one of the core organizers of this, who passed away very suddenly and sadly this summer, was remembered throughout the day by people sporting red sunglasses. And there will be a service for her, an event for her and her family on October 5th. If folks are interested, I'd ask them if they want to reach out to me. I'm happy to point them in the right direction.
Good?
Good. Thank you very much.
Sorry you had rain 2 years in a row. I know how that is in a musical event.
We're due now.
Tough.
I think
you do for some sun.
Ms. Musto.
Anything else? Mrs. Musto.
Well, we can't forget that our town administrator.
Oh yeah, I had that. I wrote that down. I thought I was giving that to him. Thank God.
Well, whoever's going to say it.
Do
you want to say?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that if you've noticed our meeting tonight, you noticed that Nick Milano, our town administrator, is not here today. That is because his wife and him had a brand new baby boy, number 3. So we'd like to send our congratulations out to him and to his family.
You want to bet he's watching? He shouldn't be, but I'll bet he's watching. Congrats. Congratulations. Nick. Congrats to all of us.
Congratulations.
Okay. Moving right along, number 13, public comment response. Number 14, future meeting dates, October 8th and October 22nd. Future agenda items. I think I already mentioned, so the superintendent, I believe the superintendent of the school building thought he would be coming in on the 8th. And then from there, we're going to item 16. We're going to be entering into executive session, and I'm going to read the following motion. I move to enter an executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property located on Jill Kathleen Lane based on my belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the select board. The select board will recess and return to open session? We will? Okay. And so do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Musto?
Yes.
Mr. Zoll?
Yes.
Myself? Yes, we are in recess. Good evening. Welcome back to open session. Welcome back to open session. We're going to move to item 17, which is discussion, approval, settlement agreement on easements on Kathleen Lane. I'm going to defer to Mr. Connor first.
So I just wanted to provide a little bit of background. The reason we've come to you with the proposed settlement agreement is that there's been an ongoing disagreement about the town's rights to access the property for installation and placement of the sewer line at the animal shelter site. In order to settle that discussion and complete the work, we sought an agreement to secure those rights and have negotiated with the HOA for Kathleen Way and the direct abutter to the animal shelter site. As a result of these negotiations, there'll be site improvements made to the shelter site with improved screening and landscaping, and there'll be road improvements made to Kathleen Way after it's disturbed for the installation, and the town will take ownership of the sewer line beneath Kathleen Way. We anticipate the work itself to take 2 to 3 days once mobilized, and we want to give as much time as possible to the contractor, which is why we're here with you tonight. Along with the improvements to both the site and the roadway, this will extinguish any of the questions around the town's rights to this access, where we will be memorializing both the temporary construction easement and the permanent utility easement. We're hopeful that we can move forward with this vote tonight because the temporary easement to allow for the work expires on October 15th.
Thank
That's
you,
all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Seconded?
I'll second.
All good? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll
moved.
second.
Second by Ms. Bradley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone
Thank
at
you.
home, and have a great week. Thank you.